The big picture narrative arc in the kings of Israel is summed up in 1 Samuel 12:14-15. If you will fear the Lord and serve him and heed his voice and not rebel against the commandment of the Lord, and if both you and the king who reigns over you will follow the Lord your God, it will be well. But if you will not heed the voice of the Lord, but rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then the hand of the Lord will be against you and your king. This mirrors the alternating nature of God's word in Kings as gospel, good news, and law, judgment. Clearly, God desired that Israel choose the former, but the love of God necessarily includes giving people the freedom to choose. God provides every possible help for his people: his presence, prayer, prophets, nature, other nations, direction, even disease, so that they would be encouraged to choose to fear the Lord, serve him, heed his voice, and follow his commandments. But the choice clearly lay with them as to whether or not they served the Lord, and God clearly lay out the consequences in both directions. The basic theology/philosophy of the Deuteronomistic history events is that God is sovereign, God is faithful to his people, and God keeps his covenants even when God's people sin against him. Jacobson and Chan tell us that the overall plot of the Deuteronomistic history has to do with the question, can Israel serve the Lord? The Deuteronomistic history is not history in the modern sense of the term, because the aim of the author of Samuel was not simply to describe the past as accurately and objectively as possible, but rather to draw on the past in order to communicate theological and ethical truths about God, about God's relationship with Israel, and about how to follow God. The authors of Kings were attempting to draw on the stories of the past in order to explain why Israel and Judah fell, to recognize God's purpose with Israel and Judah, and to understand God's future for the people. It was not in the purpose of the authors to describe history with accurate chronologies. I do think it is important that Christians today interpret political/historical events in our own contexts in a wide variety of ways. The danger of limiting ourselves to only one way of interpreting events is analogous to looking at a beautiful picture with a monochromatic filter. How disappointing and unsatisfying and inaccurate that would be. We need many perspectives, especially ones that differ from our own preferences/tendencies, to help us, all of us, to see more clearly. Certainly not all perspectives are accurate from a purely factual standpoint, but we should not discount things like the arts simply because they do not portray just the facts. We need more than facts to understand any given situation properly. The more voices that participate in the great conversation from as many differing perspectives as possible, I believe, will help us to avoid the many false dichotomies that abound today. In many, if not most situations, more than two possibilities exist. Other perspectives and voices will help us to be able to see and hopefully understand better what is going on. We need safe spaces in which students of theology, physics, biology, history, philosophy, art, music, psychology, anthropology, chemistry, archaeology, mathematics, journalism, justice, and any number of other disciplines can learn from one another in the pursuit of truth, goodness, and beauty, all of which help us to better see and know and love and trust and obey God.